No
This
pipes,
here is how
no
we
well,
separate
no
the
rain
fine
in for
soil
days.
from the rocks
And yet look at
debris.
this, water,
Simple,
dripping
but
steadily
effective.
into a gutter. Slow, consistent, unstoppable. It's been doing this all night. Every single night. This is clean, drinkable water pulled directly out of thin air. And the device that made it, I built it for under $15. Now before you click away thinking this is some kind of survival gimmick or off-grid fantasy, stay with me. Because what I'm about to show you isn't new. It isn't experimental. Engineers have known about this for over 100 years. It's been deployed in coastal villages in Chile, mountain communities in Morocco, rural Ethiopia, places where the power grid doesn't reach and the wells have run dry. The reason you've probably never heard of it is, honestly, a little frustrating. It works too well. It costs too little, and there's no subscription, no infrastructure, no company to sell it to you. So nobody's selling it. That insta-day. Let me show you exactly how to build one. First, you already know this works. You've seen this your entire life. You just never connected the dots. That's condensation on your cold glass on a hot day. That's dew on the grass every single morning before the sun comes up. That's a spiderweb doing something a $3,000 commercial water generator tries to replicate with a compressor, a fan, and a hefty electricity bill. Here's the physics. And I promise it's simpler than it sounds. The air around you, right now, wherever you are, is carrying invisible water. Suspended moisture, just floating there, waiting for the right moment to let go. There's a temperature called the dew point. When warm, humid air comes into contact with a surface that's at or below that temperature, the moisture has nowhere to go. It can't stay suspended anymore. So it does the only thing it can. It condenses. It becomes liquid. It starts to drip. What you're building is essentially a large surface area designed to trigger that exact exchange. A wide tension mesh, angled into the wind, tilted so gravity pulls every drop downward into a collection gutter at the bottom. No moving parts. No electricity. No maintenance. You set it up before you go to bed. And it works while you sleep. And here's the part that genuinely stops me every time I think about it. The atmosphere contains approximately 37,000 trillion gallons of fresh water at any given moment. More than all the rivers on Earth combined, just floating up there. Invisible. Untouched. And almost nobody is collecting it. That's the whole idea. The parts list, and yes, this is really all you need. Let me be completely honest with you about what this costs and what you need. No hidden materials. No tools you don't have. A 6 by 6 foot shade cloth mesh. The kind you find at any garden center or hardware store. Around $8 to $10. Go for a fine weave closer to a window screen than a volleyball net. The mesh is doing the actual work here, so don't go to course for sections of 1-inch PVC pipe to build the frame. You might spend less if you use leftover scraps. Hardware stores will often cut this for free if you ask. CPTIs. You almost certainly have some already. One section of plastic guttering for the collection tray. 3 or 4 feet long. A couple of dollars. A few bricks or stones to prop the structure at the right angle. Total cost $10 to $14. If you already have CPTIs and bricks lying around, you're looking at closer to $8. No specialized tools. No experience required. How to build IT step by step. Step 1. Build the frame. Take your 4 PVC sections and form a rectangle roughly 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide. You're not building furniture here. It just needs to hold its shape and not collapse in a breeze. Secure the corners with CPTIs if you want to keep it simple. It'll hold. Step 2. Mount the mesh. Stretch the shade cloth over the frame. Pull it tight, no slack anywhere. Secure it with CPTIs every 6 inches along each edge. Think about how a drum is made. You want that same even tension across the whole surface. A loose mesh means water pours and stagnates instead of running down. And stagnant water means slower runoff and less collection. Step 3. The angle. This is critical. Here's the single biggest mistake people make the first time they build this. They lay it flat on the ground. Don't do that. Flat means water sits on top, evaporates when the sun comes out, and you collect almost nothing. You need to tilt it between 15 and 30 degrees like you're leaning it against a wall at a shallow angle. That way, every drop that forms on the mesh rolls downward on its own, reaches the bottom edge, and drips into the waiting gutter below. Place the gutter section directly under that lower edge. If you want to run a short tube from the gutter into a storage container, go ahead. But it's not necessary to see how it works on the first night. Step 4. Location. More important than most people realize. Face it into the wind, not sideways, not away from it. You want the air moving through the mesh, not around it. Walk your yard at dusk and feel which direction the breeze is coming from. That's where the front of your structure should point. Raise it off the ground. Even 1 foot makes a real difference. Air at ground level is warmer and drier than air even slightly higher up. Keep it away from where the morning sun hits first. You want the dew accumulating all night and still sitting in the gutter when you come out to collect it, not evaporating before you wake up. Set it up before sunset. Come back at sunrise. That's the entire routine. WH80 happens overnight. The physics what occurs while you're sleeping is just physics doing what it always does. As the temperature drops through the night, air contacts the mesh surface and cools with it. When it crosses the dew point, the moisture in that air has nowhere left to go. It condenses onto the fibers. It forms a droplet. That droplet finds a neighboring droplet. They merge, grow heavier, and gravity does the rest, rolling them down toward the gutter top. By morning, you have something from nothing. My first night testing this, average humidity. Temperatures around 55 degrees Fahrenheit, no fog. No rain, completely ordinary conditions. I collected just over half a liter. That sounds modest until you consider those were the most unremarkable conditions possible. Nothing special happened at night at all. In humid climates, coastal areas, river valleys, anywhere morning fog rolls in, people are pulling 1 liter, 2 liters, sometimes more from a setup this size in a single night. Scale the mesh up to 10 by 10 feet and you're talking about serious daily water production from something you built on a Saturday afternoon with parts from a single hardware store run. A family of 4 needs roughly 2 liters of drinking water per person per day. Scale this correctly in the right climate and you're covering that entirely from the air. No bills, no infrastructure, no asking permission from anyone. Now, let's talk about drinking. Atmospheric water is actually quite clean to begin with. It hasn't touched the ground. It hasn't passed through soil or pipes. So it bypasses most of what complicates surface water, bacteria, agricultural runoff, sediment, all of that. But it can pick up particles from the mesh over time, or trace contaminants if you're building this in an urban area near traffic or industry. The solution takes 5 minutes and costs about $3. Take a plastic bottle, cut off the bottom, flip it upside down so the neck points downward. Layer materials inside from bottom to top. First, a plug of cotton. Then activated charcoal available at any aquarium store for under $2. Then a layer of fine sand. Then 1 final layer of cotton on top. Pour your collected water in through the open top. Let it drip through the neck into a clean container below. That's your filter. It handles particles, absorbs most chemical concerns, and adds maybe 1 extra minute to your morning routine if you want to be completely certain. Boil it, or add 1 drop of plain unscented household bleach per liter. Wait 30 minutes. It's now as clean as treated tap water. Probably cleaner, depending on where you live. Free water from the air. Filtered in 5 minutes. For a one-time cost of about $3. This is ancient knowledge, and someone buried it. What stays with me most about this project is how old the idea actually is. The Incas built stone structures in the Andes specifically designed to condense water from mountain fog, not to store it, to produce it. Fog nets have been collecting water in the Canary Islands for generations. There are Bronze Age wells in the Negev desert that archaeologists now believe weren't wells at all. They were dew collectors. Structures built not to hold water, but to create it from the air. And somewhere in the last 100 years, as indoor plumbing spread and municipal water became the norm, we just stopped thinking about it. We stopped needing it. The tap worked. And so ancient knowledge quietly sat on a shelf, gathering dust. $15 and 1 afternoon. And that knowledge is back in your hands. WHO, this is for I don't know your situation. I don't know why you're watching this. Maybe you're thinking about emergency preparedness. What happens if the water supply gets disrupted for a week? A month? Maybe you're already living off grid, and this feels a real, practical need right now. Maybe you're building a homestead, and you want to cut your utility dependence as far down as possible. Maybe you just like building things that actually work, and you found this at 2 in the morning out of pure curiosity. It doesn't matter. It works either way. And now you know how. The bigger picture is what I want you to take away from this. Beyond the build itself, we live in a world that has trained us to believe that resources come from systems, from companies, from infrastructure, from institutions. You pay for water, you pay for energy, you pay for food, and you assume that's just how it works. But humans got clean water long before there were water companies. They grew food long before there were grocery stores. They generated heat and light long before there was a utility bill. That knowledge didn't disappear. It was just deprioritized, filed away, made to seem irrelevant. It isn't. The air around you right now is carrying thousands of gallons of clean water. The sun hitting your roof every day is carrying enough energy to power your home. The soil in your yard is capable of producing food. These aren't radical ideas. They're just old ones, and every time you build something like this, every time you close one of those loops yourself, you get a little more free. If this changed the way you see the air around you, subscribe and hit like. We're bringing the practical knowledge and survival wisdom that's been quietly buried back into the light. Start harvesting your own future.